Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing an unboxing and a review of the Field Tarot. This is by Hannah Elizabeth Fofana. On the back of the box it says the Field Tarot. The Field Tarot was created to guide readers through the sacred space, the field, where the tarot narratives take place. Inspired by colorful, botanical, and otherworldly dreamscapes, the accessible artwork situates the reader within the scene, allowing them to easily connect with the card meaning. The Field Tarot acts as an intuitive tool to help readers navigate through life, relationships, and their inner and outward journeys. It includes a 78-card deck and a 96-page guidebook. This is your typical two-part box construction. It opens up like this. Inside we have, of course, the guidebook and the cards. First, let's take a quick look at the guidebook. So inside we have an introduction, reading the tarot, the major arcana, the minor arcana, and here we have wands, cups, swords, and discs instead of pentacles. Of course, here we have the introduction and reading the tarot. And I do love that first line here. There is no wrong way to read tarot. And I think that is very important. Here we have a single card and a 3-card spread. The Celtic cross spread. And the field spread. It goes into the major and it tells you about the major and then things to consider when looking at the cards. I like that. And here we have what the rest of the book will look like. So you have the card name, a description of the card, and then some keywords about each card. So if we go through, you can see it is the same for every card. And here we come into the minors. Same thing for the minors. You have a keyword, a main keyword, a description, and then a few other keywords at the bottom. And I like that. That is really, really smart that they did that. And then, of course, at the end, we have a little bit about the artist. So that was the guidebook. Now let's take a look at the cards. So here we have the first card. Typically, this is called the Fool card, but in this deck, it's called Beginnings. And I think that is beautifully appropriate. And as you can see from this first card as well, this is the art style throughout the deck. So if this is something you're interested in getting, just based off this first image, sometimes the first image can speak much more than we think. I will link where you can get this deck down below in the description. And while you're down there, why don't you go ahead and give this video a like, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Comment which card was your favorite and why. I'm interested to know that. Here we have the Magician. The High Priestess, very beautiful. The Empress, very appropriate. Here we have the Emperor. Very classic, Hierophant. White change something if it's not broken. I'm gonna let that sit there. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Beautiful Lover's card. The Chariot. Black Horse is really dark. I am glad the camera is picking up the tones. Here we have Justice and the Hermit. Just Fortune. That's it. Fortune. Black and white. Different colors. It's a spectrum. I love that. Strength. Beautiful. Perspective. I think the name of this card is so genius. Perspective. And then the card itself, you have the duality of the colors. The planet, I'm assuming it's the moon, has 2 tones. The sky behind it, the different colors. Death. Who doesn't love a good death card? When they're done right, it is so good. Temperance. Look at that. The Devil. The Tower. And I like how that lightning bolt just catches your eye. Here we have the star, the moon, of course, the sun. Here we have judgment. And the last card in our majors, typically it's called the world. This creator said, nah, it's the universe. Why limit yourself to the world when the universe is out there, full of endless possibilities? And now we have our first suit in the minor arcana. Here we have the Ace of Wands. And you'll notice for each card on the bottom, there's a little keyword. They didn't have that for the majors because the majors themselves have their own title, which is great, and I love that. But here for the Ace of Wands, we have energy. And that is the essence of what the card is trying to convey. Two of Wands. The Three of Wands. I've seen this like this before. It is in the Wild Unknown Tarot. If you're familiar with that deck, this is how they have their Three of Wands. Here we have the Four of Wands, the Five of Wands, the Six of Wands. This card almost reminds me of a scene in a movie. It's called The Cell. If you've seen the movie, you know what scene I'm talking about. Here we have Seven of Wands, the Eight of Wands, the Nine of Wands. This card is almost like if it was a pip deck, but it really isn't, so it's nice to have a little bit of both sometimes. The Ten of Wands. Here we have the Princess of Wands, followed by the Prince of Wands. Of course, we have the Queen of Wands and the King of Wands. Next, we have our suit of cups, and we start off with the Ace of Cups. Here we have the Two of Cups, the Three of Cups, and here we have the Four of Cups. And I like how the cups are flowing into each other. Here we have the Five of Cups. You just feel that. I know the card says disappointment, but when I feel sadness and confusion. Here we have the Six of Cups, the Seven of Cups, the Eight of Cups, the Nine of Cups, again with those cups overflowing into each other, the Ten of Cups. Here we have the Princess of Cups, the Prince of Cups, the Queen of Cups, and of course, the King of Cups. Next, we have our suit of swords. Here's the Ace of Swords. Here we have the Two of Swords, the Three of Swords, the Four of Swords. Very interesting. The Five of Swords. Again, I'm getting that feeling that some of the cards are pip and some of them are more RWS, which it's a good combo, I think. It's not bad at all. I think it's a good combo. Here we have the Six of Swords, the Seven of Swords, the Eight of Swords, the Nine of Swords. Here is the Ten of Swords. Now, if you've been paying attention, that almost like a tattoo on the lady's side here, we've seen it before. So maybe it's the same characters and they're going through the cards. That would be interesting to take another look around the deck to see if you notice those things. Maybe go back and watch the video a little bit slower and try to pay attention. Here we have the Princess of Swords, the Prince of Swords, the Queen of Swords, and the King of Swords. And last but not least, we come into our final suit, which is going to be the suit of discs. And here we have the Ace of Discs. Here we have the Two of Discs, the Three of Discs, the Four of Discs, and the Five of Discs. The Six of Discs. Now that was harder to say than you think it was. Here we have the Seven of Discs. I've also seen this card represented this way before. I kind of like that if you have other decks that maybe you like or you gravitate towards. You see some of those decks in this one. I think maybe, you might have to start thinking about which is your favorite deck and why. And the 8 of discs. Here we have the 9 of discs. The 10 of discs. Oh, and I love that. It's like the rings of a planet. Beautiful. The Princess of discs. The Prince of discs. Here we have the Queen of discs. And the King of discs. Comment down below who this card reminds you of and why. So those were the cards. Now let's take a look at the deck, how it feels in the hands, and my overall impressions. So this deck, not very shiny, not very reflective. The back is beautiful. It's so muted. It really does suit the theme of the deck, which is very calm. This deck, I think, for me, was very calming, very relaxing. Overhand shuffle, no problem at all. The cards are standard size, and it's not a compliment. It's not a jab at anything. It feels like any other deck you might have held in your hand. And I think sometimes that familiarity is what people need, especially in a new deck, especially if they're not sure about it. With the Ripple Shuffle, not too bad. Pretty good, I would say. Not my preferred method, but if that's what you like, then there you go. So what do I think? Well, I enjoy these images a lot. I think it's great. I think this deck, I already said that, it's very calming. It's very soothing. It's not harsh. And I think that's why some of the cards are more Pip style and some of the cards are more RWS style. I think it's to give you that contrast, but also maybe to make those harder hitting cards a little bit softer, a little bit easier to take. Because I know there are some cards in tarot, some combinations in tarot that are very to the point, just they tell you how it is, and I think that's great. That's, if you've watched other videos on my channel and you see that I do readings, and they tend to be a little bit more blunt, more honest. I don't sugarcoat things. And I've had some people tell me that I need to be a little more positive when I do my tarot readings, and I tell them, the world isn't all positives and sugar and candy. There are hard truths out there that need to be said. People need to hear them, and hopefully I am that voice that cuts through all the sugarcoating. I digress. Sorry about that. But should you get this deck? Absolutely. If you're familiar with tarot, if you're interested in learning a little bit more, this deck I think is great, especially if you're, I would say, intermediate. You've learned the Rider-Waite-Smith method. You have a RWS deck that you've learned on, and that is your bread and butter, your go-to for anything. But you're looking to expand your horizons a little bit more. Maybe you've heard that term Pip deck and it scares you because there's no real characters in them. And I've reviewed a Pip deck before on my channel. I'll link it down below so you get an idea of what that looks like. But this deck, like I mentioned during the video, it's a good combination of both of those systems. And also, each card gives you the word right on the card, right? For 10 of Swords here, we have Despair. So you know that this card will typically have a more darker meaning. Whereas here we have the Queen of Discs and we have Nurture. And you can see from the picture here, it's a pregnant woman. So it gives you that motherly, loving feeling of being nurtured. For the 10 of Cups, Harmony. So it tells you what that card represents, which makes it very easy to read and pick up and maybe learn new combinations. I think the hardest thing to learn as a tarot reader are card combinations. And that's why I typically try to do, if you watch my shorts here on the rest of my socials, They're typically 2 card draws, and I try to combine the cards to get a meaning out of them. And I think that is really, really beneficial, especially if you're new or starting out with tarot. But that was me. That was my opinions and my thoughts on this deck. If you made this far into the video, let me know what you thought down below. Do you like these cards? Do you like this art style? What do you think? Do you think this is a good deck for starters, intermediate? Let me know down below. I would really like to hear your thoughts and opinions on it. And while you're down there, why don't you go ahead and give this video a like, hit subscribe if you're not already. Every little bit helps. If you're interested in getting yourself a copy of this deck, I will leave that again down below in the description. I will link other things down there below as well. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. It really does mean a lot to me. I really do appreciate it. Your views mean the world to me. With that being said, thank you so much again for being here, and I will see you next time.